Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Leshowitz Recital Hall. At this time, we ask that you please silence your electronic devices and locate the nearest exit in the event of an emergency. Please note that food, drink, and flash photography are not permitted in the hall. Thank you and enjoy the performance.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Cali School of Music. My name is Shea Scruggs, and I serve as director here at the Cali School. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to Leshowitz Hall for our Wednesday midweek performance featuring the Kronos Quartet. We are so excited to host the Kronos Quartet. It's hard to imagine an ensemble that fits into the incredible diversity of things that happen than the Kronos Quartet here at Cali. They have commissioned over 1,000 new works. They have made over 70 recordings, including several soundtracks for award-winning films. They have toured and held residencies in every corner of the world. And one of the things that I most admire about the work that they do is they are incredibly thoughtful about what it takes to develop the next generation of young artists. One of the things that we'll talk about today in our conversation is an initiative they have called 50 for the Future, which is a series of works designed for young quartets to grow and develop new works composed specifically for that purpose. So we're really excited to host them, and I'm so excited about the opportunity to spend the afternoon with them. Before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about our Immersive Residency program. So the Immersive Residency here at Cali goes far beyond a typical residency program. Our goal really is to embed a guest artist into the work that we do and essentially augment the curricular offerings that we have. So that can look like coachings, that can look like side-by-side performances, that can look like master classes, and usually it culminates in a performance like the one that you're going to see this afternoon. And there's also going to be a culminating performance this Friday at Merkin Hall at the Coffin Center, if you're available. We'll plug that later. But we're really excited about how this residency is shaping up. And one of the great things is that it's essentially a way for us to augment the work that we do and give kids a really interdisciplinary offering that cuts across different areas and gives them something that they might not otherwise be able to do. So before we start with that, I want to just say thank you to a couple of the folks that are so crucial to an effort like this. The first is Catherine Lockwood. Catherine heads up our string area. She is one of our chamber music coaches, and she also is the professor of viola. And in addition to that incredible portfolio, she heads up our immersive residency program. It is hard to see this program thriving in the way that it has without her incredible dedication. So please join me in expressing There are so many folks whose work go into this, but I only have time to thank a few of them. The second person that I really want to thank is Stephanie Hagerstone, who serves as Associate Director here at Cali. Stephanie is one of those people who, if she's involved in the project, it's going to be better because of her involvement. She is truly a connector for everything that we do here at Cali, and her tireless dedication to and attention to detail to everything is so crucial to everything that we do here at Cali. So thank you to Stephanie as well. Before we get started, I just want to share a couple of closing thoughts just to give you an idea of what's going to happen this afternoon. So this is going to be what we call a Cali conversation. So essentially it'll be an open conversation with me and the quartet, and we'll intersperse different performances from the quartet into that. We'll have a little bit of time for questions at the end. And following that, there's going to be a performance from our student string quartets, and that's going to start around 3 o'clock. And then following that student performance, there will be a reception around 3:45 in the lobby. So encourage you to stop by and spend as much of that time as you can with us this afternoon. And just thank you again for choosing to spend your time with us this afternoon at Cali. And with that, it is just my sincere and great pleasure to welcome the Kronos Quartet.
Hi, everyone. We're so happy to be with you this afternoon. The first piece we'd like to share with you is a piece by our friend, the amazing Indonesian composer and incredible singer, Peni Rini. This piece is called Hujan, which means rain. And in this piece, Peni is exploring the different kinds of feelings that the Indonesian people have with rain, from the joyful exuberance of playing in the rain to the worry about the destruction from rain from climate change. Thanks.
incredible. Thank you. Awesome. Works for me. When you hear your quartet play, one of the things that strikes me, and I think everybody, is just how fresh and unique and diverse what you do is, relative to sort of the traditional string quartet that we've sort of come up thinking about. And we're just so interested to understand how you think about the projects that you're going to do. You know, it's not that often that you sit down with you know, an ensemble that has been associated with Sesame Street or, you know, Requiem for a Dream, right? And so it'd be really nice to just understand, what does it look like? What does the creative process look like when you sit down and you think, okay, what are we going to do next? What are we going to plan? How do we think about the trajectory of the work that we're going to do? Can you just talk a little bit about what that looks like? Planning your collaborations and just thinking about the next steps in your portfolio.
10 words or less? Is that so?
30 seconds.
Well, sometimes you have to answer the phone. In the case, you mentioned Requiem for a Dream. So it was Darren Aronofsky, the director of that film, who came to a Kronos concert at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and we were playing Dracula, the film, with Philip Glass, who wrote a fabulous soundtrack to the 1932 version of Dracula. And Darren called us up and he said, "I want your sound in my movie." That's what he said. So we just answered the phone. But then Janet Kelperthwaite and I went to see a rough cut of the film. And I was so upset after watching that. First of all, I loved the music. And I instantly thought, yes, we should do it. But my stomach was upset from the film. And so Janet and I went to a bar, and I had hot milk and apple pie. And from there, then we started working on that. Sesame Street, that was so wonderful to play on Sesame Street. Don't ever tell anybody, but I got a tail feather of Big Bird, one for each of my kids.
Thank you, that's lovely. I might want to see that Big Bird feather, though. Can you talk a little bit about this 50 for the Future initiative? I think with a lot of the young people here and educators, we're really interested in this idea that there are compositions that have been commissioned specifically for younger ensembles to play and develop and learn and grow. And can you just talk a little bit about how that came together? I know there's been sort of a consortium of support to make it real and working with many different composers. Just love to take us into that process, how it started and where it is now, and some of the impact that you've seen.
Paul, do you want to talk about it as a composer who's within 50 for the Future?
Sure. Actually, I wrote a piece for 50 for the Future before joining Kronos. My very first sort of introduction into the Kronos universe was a Skype at that time call from David Harrington, who had just heard a piece that I had written for Ayane, actually, and asked me to write a piece for this really innovative, exciting new project called 50 for the Future, in which Kronos was asking 50 composers who they felt represented sort of music now, as many different perspectives and voices as Kronos could jam into a collection of 50 new pieces. And the idea was that this music was meant to be available sort of as like a gift, at least this is the way I interpreted it, was a gift to humanity all of this music available for free, forever, for anyone to download. This includes music not just by people like me who at the time, David said something like, how have I missed you? I said, are you kidding? Nobody knows who I am. But the composers like Philip Glass and Terry Riley and Laurie Anderson and Jalen, Missy Mazzoli, a lot of big name composers who sometimes you have to pay a lot of money just to get the rights to perform it. And through 50 for the Future, all of that red tape is gone. You just download it, learn it with your friends, your loved ones. We have friends who are not students. They've performed some of this music in Carnegie Hall, and we're like, are you kidding? Just go buy some music and play it. Why do you gotta take our 50 for the Future? I'm just kidding.
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone. So to be a part of that was just an incredible gift and opportunity as a composer to write something for it. And then somehow, fast forward a few years later, and I'm in Kronos, sort of on the other side of things, working with composers and helping to invite them to be part of our universe. And it's just such to answer your sort of broad first question. I think both Requiem for a Dream and Sesame Street represent the range of what Kronos is capable of and what a string quartet can do. And this is something David has been doing for 52 years, is trying to expand what is possible to do through quartet music. And these days, it goes even beyond just expanding the pool of composers and exploring every corner of the world and encouraging people who didn't grow up in the Western classical tradition. And would you be willing to write a piece for string quartet? Does that excite you? And so we have incredible music like this that has sort of incorporates Indonesian folk music and things into the string quartet tradition. And now the work of Kronos is kind of expanding even more into activism and really trying to hone our mission towards music that addresses issues like climate change and human rights and nuclear proliferation even, and finding ways to marry science and music together, and how we can use music to help scientists and poets and writers and artists get their message to more people.
And can I just add that our time here at Montclair with the music students here is also the dream of 50 for the Future, that now there are these amazing groups who hear from the school that you'll hear at 3 o'clock them play through these 50 for the Future pieces that they've been working on. And for them to sort of be passing along this music to the next generation and the next generation, and it's living online for free for everyone, so easy to access as long as you can get on the internet. It's really a dream for all of us, and for us to have been here with them, coaching them, getting to know them, hearing them just slay these amazing pieces has really just been a dream.
Yeah, well done. Students in the room? Woo! You're amazing.
Sorry, I totally outed you. I think that what I love about the 50 for the Future rep is through residencies like this and in other venues, in other performance venues, we've gotten to know that other instrumentations are totally possible with the music, not just string quartet. Like a saxophone quartet can definitely play much of the rep. Just like how we'll do it on Friday when we go to Merkin Hall with everyone. You can expand some of these pieces for large ensembles. I think I've heard some a cappella of some of these pieces too. And it's just so amazing that because it's accessible, people have the kind of the inspiration and the gumption to make it into their own. And I think that's what music should always be about, is how do you interpret it in the best way possible that feels good to you. And so that's another part of the 50 for the Future project that has kind of taken off. It's like, it's not just for the string quartet, and that's pretty awesome.
I'm having a great time hearing 50 for the Future being played in many different places, and reading about it appearing in so many different countries and cultures and situations. And I invite all of you that are playing these pieces right now to take them everywhere you can. I think you'll have a good time.
Thank you for that. You know, one of the themes that I heard is just around access. You know, the way that you've brought this music to the world is really organized around giving folks access, and access is really in our DNA here at Montclair. Nearly half of the students at Montclair State are first-generation students, and so access is really just, it's one of the concepts around which we orbit, and everyone at every level is thinking about that all the time. So we're so grateful to have you here, and thank you for that. Because it came up, I want to talk a little bit about, I would love it if we could just talk a little bit about, and just share a little bit about what your creative process looks like and how it's influenced by our current political situation and our current political climate. Can you talk a little bit about how you're processing things and how you use your art to either comment or push back or protest? What does that look like in your artistic practice now?
Now is the best time in my lifetime to be a musician. It's really a good time, and I encourage all of you to not get depressed. It's gonna be hard, okay? It's gonna be hard, but if you're in it for the long run, now is a great time, because the world needs more music, and it needs more people playing music and exhibiting the forces necessary to make music happen. And that's my response to the current occupant of the Oval Office. As far as I'm concerned, he and his group are making us more and more valuable. That is, the artists, the musicians, the thinkers that don't need hate and violence to accomplish their goals. And I'm relishing the community that I'm discovering, and all of us in Kronos are discovering right now. It's a great community to be a part of, and granted, it's gonna be tough, okay? Just get used to it. It's been tough for 52 years, so I've got a callus. And developing a callus is kind of a good thing. You might as well start right now.
David, can you talk a little bit about the thing that I think it was Daniel that initially said about, like, there's like numbers and things and data that scientists have, but like you can like musicians can translate that information and make it something that like we can all understand?
Yeah, Ayane's mentioning Daniel Holtz, and Daniel Holtz he was the organizer of the Nobel Laureate Assembly for the Prevention of Nuclear War, and Kronos played at that assembly on July 16th in Chicago. And Daniel is one of the world's foremost experts on black holes. And I happened to be with him, and there was a little sound on his phone, and he looks down, and he said, "Oh, we just discovered 2 new black holes." And I thought, wow, this is cool. How many violinists have been in that position before? But I think what you're referring to is the concert that we were able to do in Chicago involved some scientists and activists who brought readings to our music, and I think together we were able to touch an emotional place that many of the scientists didn't know existed in the world of music. And I know for my own standpoint, I didn't know the extent to which scientists could respond to the music that we were playing. And so it was this amazing moment for our work when it felt like we were moving beyond exclusively a music audience to a place where music could really do its job, which is kind of bringing people together in a way they had no idea might happen.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried.
No, it's great. I think to add on to that, like there was a big statement that was made that was signed by all these Nobel laureates about being against nuclear war. And I think it's a very detailed and very complex declaration that some of the people were saying, you know, no matter how much we try to amplify this text, what's helpful is if like there's music attached to it, a way where people notice that this is an ongoing, a very big issue, a pressing issue. We ended up recording a song called Hard Rain, by kind of satelliting that declaration alongside this song that we collaborated with several artists on, we were able to get that information that this declaration was happening, that people are standing up to say we need to pay attention to this. And that was like a really powerful thing that they said, like that the science and the data that the scientists have can be translated in a more understandable way to all of us through music.
Yeah, there's a place that music can reach that sometimes words can't, and I think we're all sort of inundated every day with terrible news and terrible statistics and numbers, and in a way where even a scientist who's 5 feet in front of you, panicking, trying to throw data at you to wake you up, wake up, we need to solve this right now. Sometimes it's just we don't have, like normal non-scientists like us, we just don't have the capacity. And so the numbers just yeah, we know it's bad, but the numbers just fly over our head, So our other friend, Andri Magnusson, this fantastic Icelandic author and thinker, he's been grappling with these issues through his writing and through his books, and how to present very scary numbers in a way where it won't just, like throwing eggs against a wall or something. And we've been trying to help him with that, and we often collaborate with him and accompany some of his talks and his readings with music, and his storytelling combined with our music is becoming a very kind of fruitful partnership, and a way of expressing really bad news in a way that still hopefully it's absorbable by normal people.
Thank you for that. In a time where it's easy to be sort of paralyzed by what's going on, it's inspiring to see you all be able to use your art form to respond and to process the things that are happening. I was wondering if you would be open to playing another piece and then maybe getting into some Q&A. Absolutely. Cool.
So the next piece we're going to play is also another one of the 50 for the future, one of those pieces. And this is called Another Living Soul, and this is by a Canadian composer named Nicole Lizée. She's written a number of wonderful, wonderful pieces. David's getting his implement ready for this piece. Lots of wonderful, playful things in her music. In this piece, she had been investigating stop motion animation, and so she calls this stop motion animation for string quartet.
That was such an incredible just range and color and palette. That was just so terrific. I'm wondering, I think we can open it up for one or two questions. While folks are thinking about what they might want to ask, I'm just going to throw a question out there. Keeping in mind that, you know, we're at school and a lot of students are working in groups, in new groups. We have faculty who are working in committees. We have, you know, folks on the staff who are, you know, connecting with their colleagues across campus to move forward on new initiatives. We're all working in groups all the time. And when I see you perform, I just know this is a high functioning group. So can we just talk, can you talk a little bit about what do you do to work so well as a group, and how does that all come together? Can you just talk a little bit about your group dynamics and how you make it work like this?
I know. We spend actually.
Do we have group dynamics?
A group dynamic? We've spent a good amount of time talking about communication, talking and, you know, the most effective way. To be in a quartet, first of all, requires an incredible amount of communication to begin with, just to figure out what we're doing, how to play this kind of music. But then with Kronos, of course, there's a whole host of other issues that we're constantly talking about, and administrative things, organizational things, collaborative things, and there are always many irons in the fire. So I don't know. Somebody else?
You know, what I value with being in the group with Paul and Ayane and Gabriela is that each one of us has certain strengths, and somehow I think we've kind of landed in a place where we're using our individual strengths to the optimum. So let me just tell you a little secret. If you need to have a rehearsal organized down to the minute, the person you want to organize it is Gabriela. If there's a complex issue with that has been very tough for me to solve, let's say with a record company or a composer or something like that, the best person to solve that problem would be Ayane. If there's a technical problem having to do with our backing tracks or anything to do with you know, that realm of our work, the best person is Paul, no question about it. And I mean, there's a lot of other things that each one of us do, but those are.
David's good at some stuff too. He occasionally does some stuff.
That's my philosophy as well. Occasionally I'll do something.
No, if you want to meet like amazing artistic partners and just make new friends, like David I've learned a lot about how to make new friends from David and just meet people and learn from people and listen. It's like, that's an incredible skill.
Yeah, the reason Kronos is because of this gentleman right here. Just 52 years of fearlessness and communicating and just boldly going after what you want and what he thinks is good for us as a civilization. It's pretty cool, and it's an epic thing to be a part of. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say too that just in terms of dynamic, I think the priorities in the group are kindness and thoughtfulness, and I think that guides everything amongst the four of us, and I think that's something that I am incredibly grateful for with these folks.
Yeah, same here, and that I think kind of radiates out into the culture of our staff and our friends, even our board of directors and our collaborators and our, you know, the people we choose to work with. They're good people, you know, they're really good people, they're cool people, they're conscientious, they're aware, and they have something to say, you know, and that I think kind of ties us all together.
Thank you for that. It's very inspiring. I wonder if any questions. We have a couple of minutes left, and I think there's some mics floating around out there. Yeah, we have about 5 minutes if folks have questions.
Oh, what are these instruments?
That's a Stradivarius. I've seen that one before.
This is just like 0.001% of the unconventional things that Kronos has going on. This is sort of our acoustic Lizée set of extracurricular instruments. Gabby is holding a groan tube. We each have foot bells. And then David and I have whirly tubes, I believe is the official name of this brilliant piece of engineering.
I think there was a question over here.
Hi, thank you so much. So I would love, I'm here, I see all of my dance majors down there. But could you offer some advice for the young folks here about how you balance experimentation and play with the rigor of training? I feel like you all are such incredible musicians, and yet you are always pushing boundaries and trying new things. And I think that's such a big part, and sometimes a tough part of being an artist is that pull.
Thank you for that.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Well, I'm taken back to something in fact, the last thing my teacher of 30 years said to me on our last lesson, which we didn't know was going to be our last lesson, but she said, you know, the great thing about music is it always can be better. And this was after a 4-hour lesson on one note. Thanks, Vita. I needed that. But actually, I did need that, and I do need that. And you know, I think what she meant is focusing one's life, one's attention on the work at hand and trying to make it more essential. Bring more of your own experience, your own curiosity, the joy that you felt, the sadness that you felt, bring that into the work that you do. That is a lifetime of experimenting, of having fun. You know, one thing I love to do is watch other people have fun. And I've seen it here in the last couple of days on this very stage right here. We've had a great time. I've had a great time anyway, but I'm watching the other quartets play. I don't know if I'm answering the question. I tend to not answer questions. You know, I just start talking.
You have great stories. Always. I think, and I also don't know if I'll be answering the question, but as I've gotten older, it's becoming harder and harder to make the time to practice. And so it's like 10 minutes there or like 10 minutes here or something like that. But also as a group, there's so many other facets of the organization that we have to accomplish and maintain, that when we come to the rehearsal space and start rehearsing, that just feels like a relief, like a instant, like just tension release, because it's like, thank goodness we get to like play on our instruments now, you know? And so now more and more the rehearsal time is starting to feel like a total treat and a gift. And I guess because like life happens and there's so many other things that you have to take care of, I do remember how much at your age, that I like loved just being in the practice room and just like experimenting, trying to figure out what I wanted, maybe like working on one note for 4 hours, you know, that time was there. And I'm really grateful I did that then, because now when we come, when in the times that we do get to rehearse, I remember that feeling and I crave that feeling, and I try to bring that back into our rehearsal space. So then even if we're like working and kind of honing our skills, we're at the same time playing and experimenting, and they've kind of like melded together in my brain. I think that like just art in general, like that's why we do it, right? The work that we have, we keep honing our skills and disciplining and working on like one skill so that we can do like a universe of expression. So the more you can do that now, I highly recommend it.
No, I got a little bit of a kick. We were talking about climate change and nuclear arms and things, and then when the next piece we go to play is, that just highlights something that I think is so important. Is like we're always having fun, and like it's actually important. It's so valuable now to like remind ourselves to have fun and remember what that feels like, and to remind ourselves that there is joy, just around the corner, that we can create it ourselves if we can't get it from an external source. But I think you kind of like answered your own question in the question when you said it's the balance. It's a constant balance, and we're bound to feel sort of slightly, ideally only slightly out of balance all the time, and working to get to that perfect location. But it's true. I think I grew the most as a musician, as a player, when I was in school. That's when I had the time. Not that I stopped growing when I graduated. Well, I sort of stopped getting better at the rate that I was when I graduated, because life just kind of takes over, and then you kind of fall back on everything that you learn when you have a place like this to have your back and to encourage you to like work really hard, because it is a gift to have time to practice when even as a student it can be really hard to find times to practice. I know that, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Thank you for this time. Thank you for taking us on this journey. On behalf of Montclair State and the John J. Cali School of Music, I just want to thank you all so much for this wonderful concert. Bravo.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Welcoming the first quartet to the stage, Carlos, Miguel, Emma, and Nayla. Thank you.